you can see it on full display. I mean, there are things that Luke Richardson talked about, right, in training camp, in his plans for this team, right, and some of that X's and O's, like I mentioned, and part of that was being, much tighter on forecheck, you really kind of pressuring the puck to try and dictate the play, and then other than that, the penalty kill, which we've seen some great returns on too. Obviously, they want to be more aggressive and pressure that. I mean, shit, they're accomplishing that, Tony. 4 shorthanded goals, leads the NHL, and they've gone 2 games in a row, or 3 games in a row now, excuse me, with shorthanded goals. That's huge when you can get those. Obviously, you'd like to score at 5-on-5 as well. However, you'll take them any way you can get them.
Yeah, this is just something about this penalty kill that's been excellent early returns on. Our guy Ron Luce was on the content creating machine earlier today and typed up a little article that you can find over at OnTap Sportsnet about some of those early successes that this penalty kill has seen. It's not just a penalty kill, Johnny. It's kind of just the special teams overall that seems to be a big lift. It's a reworked power play. It's also a reworked penalty kill. And I don't care how they come. I know you want to score on 5-on-5 too, but when you're winning hockey games, it doesn't matter where they're coming from. I just think that penalty kill goals, shorthand goals, are cool and tough to score. You're down a guy. You've got to really work to keep that puck in the offensive zone, and the Hawks have found ways to break out of their own end and put a scoring chance up on the board, and they're converting on them. That's what's really nice. And you look at the group of guys that this penalty kills consists of, Johnny, and it's really impressive to see it working. Quarterback and a lot of this stuff on the penalty kill is your boy Sam Lafferty.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he kind of set the tone for this, right? With 2 shorthanded goals in that game against San Jose last Saturday night. That was obviously the start of their winning streak. And that was also the start of what turned the tide. Because if you remember, they were down 2-0 in that game when Sam Lafferty scored his first one, then obviously knotted up there with the second one as well. So it's been really exciting to watch him. Who the hell had Sam Lafferty as tied for the team leader in points?
Probably you
early in the season. Yeah, maybe.
Probably you.
Yeah. But he's up there, Tyler Johnson as well. Both he has 5 points too, so a nice start for him. We'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, we're talking about this penalty kill. Tony, it's nice to see. This is why I have Luke Richardson Stan as my name here. If you can see this on the live stream here, it's because it's a concept that was talked about, vocalized to both. Obviously, it's going to be expounded upon in the locker room, but it was also said in interviews, in just in media sessions, right? Luke Richardson. So you let the fans know, you let the public know what they're going to do, and guess what? They're executing it on the ice. So that's a stick tap to Luke Richardson for implementing the systems that are easy enough to understand, and then stick tap to the guys on the ice for buying into it and executing.
It's all around, and it's nice to see. And Johnny, Luke Richardson stand in your bio looks great. It's better than Jeremy Colleton hater or any of the other stuff that we've dealt with over the past few years here. I kind of took a shot at the system just a minute ago, but I'm going to do it again. It's obvious with some of the comments that were made coming out of the Blackhawks locker room that, this has been uplifting for them. It's been a good season so far with the group of guys. You can see them sort of start to gel a little early. I didn't expect that at all. I think Max Domi with Patrick Kane out there, that's been good to see. There's a little bit of chemistry developing amongst certain lines. And Ron pointed out the third line today in a tweet, and I can totally see that again as well. Those third and fourth lines have been, I said this to Ron earlier, Johnny, the third and fourth lines are the most exciting third and fourth lines that we've seen play Chicago Blackhawks hockey since probably 2016, 2017. You could go back even farther and say it's almost reminiscent of some other stuff. These are all early returns. None of this is going to stick. There's still going to be frustrating stretches of hockey that you see this team play, but it's nice to see them come out of the gate, because I expected the doors to get blown off in most of these hockey games, especially early on in the season. Doors really haven't been blown off outside of Colorado, and that's a really, really good hockey team. We talked about that on our last show, Johnny, but it seems like they've just found a way to play with some heart, and a lot of that goes back to, like you said, the guy behind the bench, the one that's instilling this message, and that's just really encouraging.
Yeah, right. But just to kind of like really, contrast that to what was going on last year. Quote from Tyler Johnson today. He says, "You guys," he's talking to the reporter. He says, "You guys weren't around in the locker room last year, but it's a lot more fun this year. People have smiles on their face. They want to come to the rink every day and compete. It's been huge." So obviously, he's not naming names there, but you know what the situation was at the beginning of last year with that dreadful start, right? Jeremy Colliton behind the bench, looking lifeless, looking like a robot, right? Not a whole lot of fun. You didn't hear any sort of fun comments coming in the early part of the season. Obviously, they did make the coaching change. It wasn't too far into the season, but obviously enough to sink them last year. And it's hard to recover from that from a mentality standpoint. Where I like that. I see some comments in here that I'm screaming when the Hawks win. We really need that overall top 3 pick, whatever. That I get it. It's supposed to be that those when all the trades happen. Everybody expected that. However, it would be brutal if they were just getting, shellacked in every game and kind of, talk about the doors getting blown off. That would be really rough to watch. And guess what? You'd still be upset at that as well. So I don't think anybody wants to see him go get blown out. And it's important going back to Luke Richardson and these guys receiving the message and implementing it.
Well, I'll go this route with it, Johnny. Kind of something that we talked about when the Blackhawks went out and made this coaching change. We sort of thought, I think it was me or you that came up with it. I can't remember. This was at the end of last year. Talked about how if the Blackhawks bring back Derek King to kind of fulfill that sort of rebuild coach role and wait to bring in a guy that's going to establish a winning culture until they knew that they had the pieces to establish said winning culture. And I thought that was the route that the Blackhawks were going to take. I thought that they would try more of a lenient approach through this and sort of say, hey, let Derek King take this team, see what he can do with it. Don't really instill this coach mentality of somebody who's going to come in here and sort of set that winning culture up the way you want to see it. Early on, Luke Richardson's done exactly that. He said the right things early on in training camp about trying to make Kyle Davidson's job hard. He's seemingly instilled some of the, some sort of special teams reworking that's ended up paying dividends, because this is a totally different power play. This is a totally different penalty kill. We've talked about that already. He's really established sort of that winning culture. You've heard guys, I believe it was Max Domi coming to Chicago this offseason, say he wanted to play for Luke Richardson. So you see some of these things already early on, and you can say early on in the rebuild, it looks like they found somebody who's at least probably the most well-liked coach in Chicago at this very moment, Johnny.
Right.
That's really difficult to say, but
yeah,
look at what he's dealing with. He's got a team that is not expected to compete. They've rattled off back-to-back comeback victories early on this season. They're on a 3-game winning streak, and they're not supposed to compete throughout the rest of the year. There's zero expectations for this team. And so when you can grab these positives, it's important to, because if you don't, Johnny, you can wind up looking back at the other 50 reasons or 40 or 30 reasons that you and Ron listed off as to why to watch the Blackhawks. But this is probably number one. When you can see them grab onto this and you can equate it to things that are going to be here at the end of the rebuild, and I fully do believe that they anticipate Luke Richardson being here at the end of that, you've got to take those as positives.